Good evening, America. I am Eric Little. It is the third day of September 2020, 61 days till the election, exactly 2 months from today, and 34 days until the absolute destruction of Mike Pence by Kamala Harris in the vice presidential debate. I'm near my home in Southern California this evening, and this is the plain truth. Shelf life. Most of you know what that is. It started as a grocery store term. It basically means how long something can be on the shelf and still be good to sell to a customer. The shelf life of a gallon of milk is about 2 weeks. The shelf life of a Twinkie is about 50 years. Why that is, I don't know. That's a plain truth for another day, and I'm not advising you to eat a 49-year-old Twinkie, but you understand what I'm saying. Democracy also has a shelf life. So in 2 months, we're going to decide if that's now. We've been a country for 244 years. This democracy will end eventually. All representative democracies do. We're only trying to decide if it ends now or at some point in the future. We're running against people who have no compunction about lying about anything. Donald Trump yesterday told his people in North Carolina they should try to vote twice, despite the fact that that's a felony. You know, he's going around to these police departments saying, I got your back. No matter what you do, shoot somebody 7 times in the back, doesn't matter, I got your back. So I started thinking, what is wrong with the police departments now? We didn't have these problems when I was a kid. And I think what happened was the end of community policing. Now, I know they call it community policing now, but it's not community policing. I'm going to tell you what community policing is. Where I grew up, there was a guy who was the community policeman. He lived in our neighborhood. He walked our beat for 40 plus years, maybe more than that. He knew everybody. There was a middle school where I lived where it was Lover's Lane, so to speak. It's where all the kids went to in their cars to make out, whatever. And he sat there. There was only one way in and one way out. And he sat there and he charged the kids like $5 a kid to go down to this Lover's Lane. Made a fortune. My cousin and I thought about this about 5 years ago. We tried to add this up. Probably made about $400,000 on that corner for all those years. 2 kids a car, $5 a kid, 6 cars a night, 7 days a week. You do the math. But he knew every single person in every single one of those cars. That's community policing. So as we grew up and got older, we all knew him and he all knew us. He knew everybody. He knew everybody's mama. He knew everybody's daddy. He knew everybody who thought they was the daddy but wasn't. Because remember, he knew everybody that went down there in those cars. So when one of us got in trouble, they would simply call him, even if he was on vacation, and say, hey, you need to go get John and bring him downtown. And he wouldn't come show up with 19 people and guns drawn and handcuffed. He'd call your mother and say, hey, tell John to come downstairs. I need to take him in. He's wanted for questioning and such and such. And your mother would tell John to come downstairs, and he'd put him in the car. And if it was going to be a long day, he'd take you to McDonald's first and get your hamburger to make sure that, you didn't have to eat the jail food. Pictures, print, you'll be home in 3 hours, you come back with a summons. That's community policing. He knew everybody. He was one of us. We wouldn't dream of hurting him, and he wouldn't dream of hurting us. We understand he had a job to do. That's what community policing is. We don't have that now. We get a bunch of guys that come in. You see this in New York all the time. They live in Rockland County somewhere, these all white counties, and they come down to police the hood. All these white dudes come down, police, they don't know anybody. All they know about black people is the stereotypes they see on TV, so everybody's a threat. There's no way you could shoot somebody 7 times in the back if you didn't view them as a threat, even with his back turned to him. Not Jacob Blake, the guy in Minnesota, the one that they put the knee on his neck, George Floyd. You don't put your knee on somebody's neck for 9 minutes if you know him. You understand? He was handcuffed in the back of the police car. The door was locked. Why is that not it? Even if you suspected he committed a crime, then you drive him down to the precinct and you book him. You don't take him back out of the car, beat him up, put your knee on his neck. You don't do that to somebody you know. If you really want to fix policing, you need to get back to community policing, real community policing, like when I was a kid. And that is the plain truth, as I see it. And I am Eric Little. Good night.